Good evening. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Cynthia Ng. Doctor among 7 arrested for selling fake COVID vaccine certificate. And study found that Malaysians want political funding reforms. That's coming up. The police have uncovered a syndicate selling fake COVID-19 certificates. A doctor in Marang, Terengganu was arrested along with 6 other individuals believed to have helped the doctor seek out customers. Initial police investigations found that around 1,900 such documents have already been sold to anti-vaxxers between 400 to 600 ringgit each. Terengganu Police Chief Datuk Rohaimi Mat Isa said the 51-year-old suspect is believed to have been conducting his operations online since September last year. Police are now investigating the 1,900 certificates sold, including a joint probe with the Health Ministry into the MySejahtera details of suspected individuals. Based on initial checks, Rohaimi said the suspect had obtained approval from the Health Ministry last September to administer COVID-19 vaccines and said some of his customers for the fake certificate include those residing in Kedah and Kuala Lumpur. Over 95% of Malaysians surveyed agree that Malaysia is due for reforms to the local political funding system. The study by University Malaya also found that that there is a lack of legislation to regulate political financing.
According to the report titled Voices from the Ground, the Corruption Complex in Malaysia, it found that existing Election Offences Act 1954 to be limited and only dictates offences during campaign period. The Election Commission also lacks authority. Meanwhile, the Societies Act 1960 requires political parties to file an audited financial account without the need to disclose financial contributors. It also said authorities responsible for overseeing the matter are unclear and urged the need to question maximum spending allowed for state and federal elections. The survey included 1,113 respondents who were involved in a policy talk titled Corruption Risk, Political Financing and Accountability.
The government is fully committed to saving the Malayan tiger. There are now fewer than 150 of the species left in the wild, and Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob warned that the iconic tiger may go extinct if immediate action was not taken.
He said this after chairing the first meeting of the National Tiger Conservation Task Force (MYTTF), whereby it outlined 6 strategic actions for protection of the Malayan tigers. This includes having boots on the ground involving the Wildlife and National Parks Department, police, army and Orang Asli community. Other measures to be taken include the strengthening and conservation of habitats through managing sustainable land use and stopping all forms of illegal hunting and infringement activities. Among other measures agreed to is to increase the forest cover in Peninsular Malaysia from 43.41% to 50% by 2040, and the establishment of the Malayan Tigers Conservation Unit under Perhilatan and Wildlife Crimes Bureau under PDRM.
Malaysia and Indonesia are expected to sign a memorandum of understanding on the recruitment and placement of Indonesian domestic helpers in the first week of February. Human Resources Minister Datuk Seri M. SARAVANAN said Malaysia is now in the final stages of negotiations with Indonesia, including discussions on the overall cost of bringing in the helpers.
Saravanan said the negotiations between Malaysia and Indonesia were, among others, to control the cost of bringing in domestic helpers to between 10,000 and 15,000 ringgit, including the quarantine cost and levies. He also denied that the cost of bringing these helpers would reach 25,000 ringgit due to quarantine costs and higher airfares, as reported by the media, which cited maid agencies as saying that the recruitment fee was between 16,000 and 20,000 ringgit before the COVID-19 pandemic. Commenting on Immigration Director General Datuk Seri Khairul Zaimi Daud on the payment of 1,136 ringgit for the recruitment of each foreign domestic helper for the first time, Saravanan explained that the amount only involved immigration costs. He said the Indonesian government also asked Malaysia to stop hiring its citizens who come to the country as tourists but are later hired as maids. According to him, the Indonesian government believes this is forced labor. Therefore, the Indonesian government wants Malaysia to put an end to the system before they signed the MOU.
The move by 3 Perak assemblymen in joining Parti Bangsa Malaysia (PBM) has not affected the stability of the state government. Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Sarani Mohamad said this was because the assemblymen did not withdraw their support for the state government but only switched party affiliation.
The state government, he said, still had sufficient seats, with 36 still in support of the administration. The 3 assemblymen who joined the newly formed PBM are Buntung Assemblyman A. Siva Subramaniam, Tronos Paul Yong, and Malim Nawar's Leong Chiok Keng. The position taken appears to be in line with PBM President Larry Singh, who said that at the federal level, the party still supports Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob.
Malaysian SMEs are not yet out of the woods, but they are looking towards a stronger recovery in 2022. We speak to Chin Chi Siong, National Secretary General of the SME Association Malaysia, to share with us the sector's outlook for the year and his assessment of the Omicron variant's impact towards SME recovery.
Confidence level of the consumer. The spendings are not there. The spending are not coming back, especially now Omicron appear, right? All of a sudden. And then you can see that many people like you and me are worried about what happened to this special kind of virus, the new strains, will it be more dangerous, So many of us do not have confidence going out. So you can see there's a slight drop for the past 1-2 weeks in terms of our SME businesses, especially on the retail, F&B and retail services.
Chi Siong said that Malaysia's inclusion in the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, though beneficial for the country, may hurt SMEs if no measures are taken to protect their interest.
For the manufacturing, for the local SMEs, they're worried about the implementation of RCEP. RCEP starts 1st January. Now, RCEP is good. Malaysia have a wider range of market, wider range of customer to go. But the fact that other people will come into your market too. You know what I mean? Right now, we can't stop other what you call much more competitive products to come in to compete with our locals. So there's a lot of worries here, and they don't see any effort by government in helping them, how to fight against overseas competitors.
SME Association's Chi Siong said that while the government measures such as loan moratoriums and financial subsidies have helped SMEs, they need to be more targeted to speed up the sector's recovery.
So we hope that those facilities, especially the loan facility, finance facility, to be more customized to help the really affected SMEs, especially those hit by the flood. So we can see that government has come out aid, but not really that effective so far. Right, that's number one. Number two, also we hope that government can not instruct, tell the banks not to take action against those default payment of SMEs who is facing trouble. If banks start taking action because they are defaulted, not paying within 3 months, and you chasing them, you issue letter of demand, and then you start asking them to close down. Right, that will affect not only the SMEs, the whole business cycle. Right, the whole business economy will never pick up because SME is still the core, economy driver of the country.
We will go for a quick break. Stay with us.
Di Kasem memang dah janji, kereta kami bebas daripada kemalangan, kerosakan rangka, kebakaran dan banjir bila kami hantarkan terus ke rumah anda.
Pure Swiss Hydrocalm Serum meningkatkan kelembapan kulit. Kulit menjadi lembap dan gebu sepanjang hari. Clinell.
Welcome back. Tennis star Novak Djokovic has won a court battle challenging the cancellation of his Australian visa in a case that has drawn global attention. Judge Anthony Kelly agreed with Djokovic's lawyers, who argued that the cancellation was unreasonable and ordered his release from detention. But the saga may not be over just yet. Australia's immigration minister may use his power to re-cancel the visa. Now, if that happens, the judge warned that Djokovic won't be able to return to Australia for 3 years. The Australian federal government has insisted that Djokovic's recent COVID infection does not make him eligible for an exemption from entry rules. The world number one was denied entry at Melbourne Airport on Wednesday and sent to an immigration detention hotel. Djokovic was allowed to leave briefly to watch the court hearing from his lawyer's office. The Australian Open begins on January 17th, and if Djokovic is allowed to play and win, he will become the most successful men's player in history. The total number of COVID-19 cases in Australia breached 1 million, with more than half of them recorded in the past week alone. Despite record numbers, Prime Minister Scott Morrison says that Australia has to push through the Omicron outbreak. Having vaccinated nearly all its adult population, Australia is now trying to live with the virus, but the rapid escalation in cases has put pressure on medical workers and the health system. The country confirmed just over 67,000 new cases on Monday, compared with just under 100,000 on Sunday. Authorities said the Monday number could be an underestimate because some states do not include those who tested positive using at-home rapid antigen tests. Australia has now reported 1.04 million cases since the pandemic began 2 years ago, a major turnaround for the country, which suppressed previous waves of the pandemic through lockdowns and strict border controls. A Myanmar junta court today sentenced Aung San Suu Kyi to 4 years in prison after finding her guilty for illegal possession of walkie-talkies and breaching COVID restrictions. The pro-democracy leader is facing about a dozen charges that could lead to a lifetime in detention.
Suu Kyi was already convicted to 4 years in prison in December for 2 separate charges. Junta Chief Min Aung Hlaing then cut the sentence to 2 years and said she could serve her term under house arrest in capital Naypyidaw. It is not known where she is currently being held. There has been scarce information about the proceedings of her trials, which cannot be accessed by independent media or observers. Suu Kyi was detained since February 1st, 2021, when her government was forced out in a coup.
9 children were among at least 19 people killed when a fire tore through a high-rise apartment building in New York on Sunday. Authorities say that a malfunctioning space heater caused the fire in the 19-story building that houses low-income families.
New York City Fire Department said the smoke quickly spread to the upper floors because the door of the apartment was open and more than 60 people were poisoned. The children who died were aged 16 and under, and the majority of the residents in the building were communities from Gambia. A team of 200 firefighters had responded to the early morning blaze in the Bronx. Another 63 people were severely injured.
There is a growing divergence in how countries are responding to Omicron. Tonight on Consider This, we ask our guests if Malaysia can find the right balance in its public health response. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. For all the latest news updates, head on to astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.